I would now invite Dr. S.P. Agarwal sir, who himself is the member of the Pet Club, the principal of Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, who has helped us in many ways. I request you, sir, to say a few words.
Thank you, Harshita. Thank you. You have done wonderful job. It's a news to me that the society has done so many things because I have joined you probably for the first time. But yes, I know that you have been very active in doing this service. Good afternoon and welcome to all of you. Our guest today, Ms. Gauri Maulekhi, uh, our convener, Dr. Tenjin Thakur, all the volunteers, happy volunteers who are seeing, with charming faces. I welcome the whole society and the other dignitaries on behalf of Ramanujan College, Delhi University. Friends, it's a very good initiative, and I know that initiative was taken during the COVID-19. That is why it becomes very, very important. And let me tell you that every living being, including the humans, animals, trees, they need care. And this thing need to be inculcated among each and every member.
Words. You have always been a guiding guide for all of us here. We wish we would take your guidance ahead to achieve new heights of success. With this, I would like to invite Ms. Gauri Maulekhi ma'am, the trustee of PFA, India's largest animal welfare organization. She is also the secretary member of PFA Uttarakhand, which is the legal and policy wing of its parent organization PFA. Since 1994, she has contributed to animal welfare in various capacities: policy reform, capacity building, law enforcement authorities, public awareness, as well as sheltering. She has worked extensively across various states to spread awareness about animal welfare and ethical treatment of animals. She is also a member of the Uttarakhand State Animal Welfare Board. Ms. Maulekhi was awarded the prestigious Nari Shakti Puraskar in 2018 by the President of India for a contribution to the field of animal welfare advocacy. Ms. Maulekhi was felicitated by the Government of Uttarakhand for distinguished service in animal protection and disaster management during the Uttarakhand floods in 2013. Ms. Maulekhi has worked with various ministries of the Government of India and several state governments to formulate and implement policies such as human transportation of animals, human slaughter practices, effective population management, and the protection of wildlife. We are delighted to have her with us right now. I would now request you, ma'am, to address the session.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for your encouraging words and for your leadership, which has made this pet club possible. Um, do keep supporting this group. And thank you, Harshita and Chandrabhan, and all of you who have come together to make this wonderful initiative. Now, while all of you must be studying right now, worried about your careers, worried about what you're going to do 2 years from now, 1 year from now, we have come together today to decide and to figure out what to do today, because there is definitely a pandemic for humans going on, and it's everybody's concern at this moment. But there is an animal genocide and an animal emergency and an animal destruction and calamity that happens every day. And you and I, sensitive people, compassionate people, can actually put our emotions, our feelings into action. Just liking animals is not enough. You might like animals and you might think, oh, I was passing by on the road, I saw a dog and I gave a call to some NGO, or I gave a call to somebody, and that's how I did my work. Well, that's not enough at all. In fact, you're not becoming a part of the solution till you just keep identifying problems and doing nothing about it. So today we're going to just talk about 5 or 10 simple things that each one of you can do as on today with the limited resources and means that you have as students. Not much expectation, but actual effective action which you can take as a pet club, as a group of people, registered, unregistered, whatever. Just that coming together was the first big bottleneck which you have overcome, and I think you deserve a big congratulations for that. So I saw some of the little things that you've already done, and that includes feeding animals around you, feeding street animals. That's actually wonderful. That's one thing. That's item number one that you need to actually organize. Do not have it done on an ad hoc basis. If you fed an animal today, then tomorrow don't let it go hungry. It needs continuous supply of food. Even if you can feed a few animals, make sure that that food and water is continuous. It's done as in, in a organized manner. You have on rotation, people to do it, in several, whatever neighborhood you are, properly. Like, people worry about giving water to birds only during summer. Well, don't we have water during winter? So food and water is something that you should start, but start very responsibly. Do it as a as a routine. And if somebody has to opt out for some work, then there has to be on rotation somebody else. That's the whole good thing about working as a team, that you can fall back on your friends and do it in an organized manner, not just aaj man kiya to de diya, kal bhul gaye. Hmm? um, Again, for feeding, I'll just give you 2 3 points. Do not give glucose biscuits to dogs at all. You don't need to give non-veg to dogs at all. They do very well on doodh roti or khichdi or dalia, dal chawal. They do very well on vegetarian food. You don't need to go and buy chicken. I mean, if you're killing one animal to feed another, then there's no point. So those are few things about feeding that you have to keep in mind. Second thing, make a lot of members. Today I'm watching 109 people. I'm sure they're not all from Ramanujan College. Some might be from other, uh, platforms also. But unless you grow, you will never become an influencer in your own locality even. So you have to grow, you have to make more members, you have to make people understand. Like Mr. Agarwal was saying something really important. Sensitization ki kami hai. If you do not spread the sensitization, don't wait for it to automatically come after 100 years. You have to proactively reach out to people, sensitize them about animals and how to do it. I'll give you, Harshita, maybe a list of films that you can start screening, educational documentaries that you can start screening for small groups. Once you do that, everybody has compassion in their hearts. You just have to bring it out. You just have to make them aware of it. So screen films, make members, expand your group, network with them. Now we've got such amazing tools like WhatsApp, etc., that you can actually build a good network in certain specific localities and start taking the responsibility of at least the street dogs in that locality. Neuter karane mein madad, coordinating with the shelters in that area. That's now the other thing that you can do very easily. Don't just sit at home and make calls to ambulances and expect people to come and pick up dogs from the road when they're injured or when they're diseased. Join a shelter. As a volunteer, you can do so many things at a shelter. You can actually give hands-on care. You can do their social media outreach. You can raise funds for the shelters. You can raise donation in kind for the shelters. Even among our friends and families and so many other WhatsApp groups we have, you can start saying, jaadon ke pehle we need gunny bags, or we need newspapers, or we need tissue papers, or we need Savlon, or simple things, or bed sheets, or little mattresses. There's so many things that animal shelters require. And in India, animal shelters are not usually government funded. So they're always in need for more things. And people keep shouting orders to them. Ye nahi kiya, wo nahi kiya. While it's very easy to find faults, very few people like you guys come forward and say, okay, we're going to pitch in. We're going to do our bit. So join a shelter as a volunteer and figure out a work for yourself, whether it is social media, fundraising, hands-on care, anything, right from picking up a mop and cleaning a kennel to going on, change.org or going on some platform to do crowdfunding for them. There's so much work that you can do for a shelter, and I'm sure with young bright people like you would be able to add so much value to it. Then it makes sense to take their assistance in rescues. You can't always give orders because these shelters are also really, really out of resources. The next thing that you can actually do is, like, this is something I did and I found very interesting. I was in Dehradun for a very long time, and when I really ran out of ideas how to sensitize people, I used to do a lot of these film screenings, just catch a bunch of people and show them a documentary or something, and suddenly you'd see that the whole environment changes. Once, if somebody has seen Glass Walls, or if somebody's seen Earthlings, now there's so many better films like Octopus, My Teacher, or Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy, such wonderful films. If you just show it to a few people, they will become compassionate by themselves. You won't even have to use any word to convince them because the documentaries are so powerful. Anyway, so what I also did was make posters about various cruelty situations. होता क्या है कि हम अपने normal course of life में we don't even discover how much cruelty there is, which is hidden from us. Like, hens are kept in battery cages, buffaloes are suffering in dairies, circus animals are goaded with sharp instruments to train them, wildlife is poached. There's just no end of cruelty situations, or tongas with horses that are almost dropping dead. So take those situations, make a poster, write down the section of law that applies to it, maybe write a nice quote, get it printed nicely, and put it up anywhere you want, in your local kirana shop, in your local police station, in the animal husbandry clinic, anywhere where you are allowed in a public place. Just put that poster up. And I mean, I'm so happy to see some of the advocates back in Dehradun had put that poster up about 10 years ago. It's still there. It's still there. And they say that they like it very much. And everybody who comes or asks, ki, acha ye kya hai, and starts thinking in that direction. So never underestimate the power of pictures and words that can actually, you can't deliver yourself, but through your collateral, through the means that you have at your hand. Social media is one very important tool. Again, that's the next one. If you can't do anything, if you are just sitting at home, use a lot of social media. You'll see a lot of issues come up on social media. For instance, there was this elephant recently that was caught, by the temple, and they were, keeping it cruelly, and it had to be rehabilitated into the wild. Or the dog meat that was being consumed a lot by Nagaland, and a lot of social media awareness and activation of a lot of people contributed to the government recognizing that, yeah, it's a problem and we're going to stop it. The matter is sub judice at the moment, but still, we need a lot of word to go out on social media. You'll see when animal matters come up, single cruelty cases, or industrial or institutional cruelty cases, not many people speak up. Even if somebody posts something, there are about 5 likes, 10 likes, or maybe 15 retweets, nothing much. So as a group, the pet club can be a social, everybody should have Twitter accounts, everybody should have Instagram accounts. Start looking for emerging subjects on animal welfare on social media. Start putting the word out, start retweeting, and tagging influencers. See, social media has some very simple tricks. You have to use a lot of hashtags, you have to tag a lot of influencers, and if you do that repeatedly, then you will get a hit. Some influencer is going to retweet it, and then it's going to catch fire and go everywhere. So those are the things that you can do as a student. It's not difficult at all. You just have to have the motivation of putting your love, the love that you have in your heart, into action. That I'm going to spend 1 hour on social media every day only doing animal welfare outreach. I can make a poster and put it out. I can tag a lot of, compassionate influencers who are likely to retag it. John Abraham, and there's so many. His name is only the only one that came to my mind, but there's that cricketer and actress duo, and so many. Anushka Sharma, of course. So many people that you can. Mohit Chauhan. There is, a ton of these influencers who can come forward and you know but they'll only do it if there is enough pull from a lot of people. They will not do it if ऐसे ही कोई बस 2-4 दिन में एक post आ जाता है. You have to be relentless, and you have to be um, you know uh, keeping in with the times. You have to know what the emerging topic is. For instance, People for Animals has a Twitter handle. When we start talking about dog meat, everybody should start talking about dog meat, so that it catches on, has a snowball effect, and a lot of change can actually come. Okay, so that's about the small things that you can do. I know I got an email with certain questions, so I think writing an FIR and how to file an RTI, should we start talking about that now? Okay, so so coming on to my next thing, these were the simple things that anybody can do, whether you're a student or you're working or whatever, you're a housewife. You do these things sitting at home, or just without any application of mind. But when you come across a cruelty situation, what do you do then? If somebody is hitting a dog, or trying to harm some animal in front of you, in a dairy, or on the street, in their house, or कोई घोड़े को मार रहा है या किसी भैंस को मार रहा है, whatever. So what do you do in that case? First of all, as a thumb rule, please make sure that you read the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. It has only about 40 sections. It's a simple act. It's written in baby language. Anybody can understand it. You don't have to be a law student or a lawyer to understand the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. If you just read it, you will know that section 11 of the act deals with all kinds of cruelty situations. Any cruelty situation that you can actually recognize with your eyes qualifies under section 11 under some subsection or the other, whether it is beating, kicking, making animals fight with each other, putting some kind of a injection into animals, or killing them. Anything, any kind of cruelty qualifies under section 11 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Now, if the animal is also injured, whatever the case is before you, if the animal is also injured, then another section of the Indian Penal Code, section 429, will also apply. And this is a cognizable section. That means that the police will have to register an FIR. Now, what is an FIR? An FIR is just the sequence of events that happened that you are reporting to the police. It's first information report. You have to write in chronology the story of what happened. That's it. Okay. So it's a simple thing. If I was going on the road and I saw somebody hit a cow that was feeding on some garbage or something, and dande se mara kisi ne gai ko. So the FIR would be, at such and such time on so and so road, I was passing by from here to there, and I saw at this location that such a person, if you know the person, mention the name and address or any other detail that you know, or you can describe the person, was using such weapon to hit this cow who was of so and so color and present at so and so location, and any other detail that you want to say कि मैंने उसको मना किया फिर भी उसने मारा, and then he said whatever, and the whole sequence of events, and therefore I called 100 number, and then the police came, and now I'm giving my report. in writing, please register an FIR under Section 11 and 11 of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act and Section 429 of Indian Penal Code. So basically, your FIR is a very simple document. Do not ever shy away from giving this written FIR, because unless you give it in writing, nobody is going to be able to do anything about it. These are criminal offenses. Any offense against an animal is a criminal offense, and the person can only be charged if you give a written report. So, and being a complainant is a good thing. So don't say ki, oh, main thane kaise jaun and all that. You know, being a complainant is something that a responsible citizen can do. And I'm sure you are all responsible citizens. So don't shy away from reporting a crime, because not reporting a crime would just be cowardice and irresponsible of you as an Indian. So write down this complaint, then ask for the FIR to be registered, because just your giving a complaint is not enough. You have to take a photocopy of it, and on the photocopy, you have to take a receiving stamp from the Thana. In case during COVID times you can't go, you can always send it by email also. Sitting just there in the Thana, you can send the complaint by email also, and then ask for it to be registered as an FIR. Once they register it in their diary, they will give you a number, and that's when the whole thing gets sort of formalized. And then the investigation starts, and you assist the investigation officer. Once the FIR is registered, there's an investigation officer appointed. You have to know the name and number of that investigation officer so that you can assist the investigation officer in getting the animal rescued, in getting the accused person arrested, in case he has to be arrested, etc. If nobody is doing anything about it, or if you have written letters about something else to some other authority, for instance, and nobody is doing anything about it, then there is another tool called the RTI, which you can use. Now, the RTI is basically Right to Information Act, which was passed in 2005. Very important act. It gives a lot of power to citizens to understand what is happening. It increases transparency and accountability with all the departments of officers. RTI ke baare mein bhi, there are lots of misunderstandings. People think it's very difficult and it's very complicated. Well, it's not. It's very easy. You just have to write the public. Now you have to understand that every department has a public information officer. For instance, I wrote, let's give a live example. There is a pet shop in my neighborhood, and I'm really worried that these animals are not kept nicely, and I don't know whether the pet shop is registered or not. All pet shops are supposed to be registered under the Pet Shop Registration Rules 2018 with the State Animal Welfare Board. And I don't know whether it's registered or not registered, or any actions taken or not taken. So I'm first going to write a letter to the State Animal Welfare Board, email it to them. If they're not doing anything about it, I can file an RTI, or I can straight away file an RTI. Public Information Officer, then name of the department, which would be Animal Husbandry Department. Then just say, dear sir, please make it convenient to provide the following information. Okay. You have to understand that the word information is defined in the RTI Act. It deals with any document, any document, whether it's from a file, it's a communication, it's a note sheet, it's an order, it is some kind of a direct order, or any other communication from anybody to anybody which is present on government files, whether it is in paper form or even if it's in digital form, all included. In fact, work is also included. So under RTI, you can ask for inspection of work also. But for instance, if I'm talking about this pet shop, I can ask the Public Information Officer, Animal Husbandry Department, so and so state, and then ask them to provide certified copies of the following documents. And then you can start asking for whatever documents you require. Registration certificates issued to all pet shops in so and so state, or so and so district, or so and so locality. So, if they have issued any registrations, then you can, access it from there. Or you can ask, um, give me certified copies of all complaints received regarding pet shops in so and so city, and any action taken, any document related to action taken on such complaints. So if they write back saying, oh, we received 100 complaints, but we did nothing about it, they look very silly, isn't it? So they're going to then start working on it. When they receive your RTI, then they're going to start doing something about the complaints that they've received. Because no department wants to say, yeah, we received about 20 complaints about this pet shop, but we've done nothing about it. So sometimes RTIs help as catalysts to get, people to get into action. Sometimes we write letters to authorities about any issue. For instance, making the SPCA. If I write a letter to the district magistrate saying, please, have a meeting of the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and he's done nothing about it. I wait for a month and then I file an RTI. Please provide me with certified copies of all action taken on my letter. Now they can't say, oh, we did nothing about your letter. So they have to do something about it. Then they start writing something, and then, late Latifon ki tarah, they'll give a reply, but they would have done something. So always use it to put your letters, put your representations into action, and to get some transparency out as to what is the status of pet shops and dog breeders and circus. If there's a circus in your neighborhood, of course you're not going to wait a month to take any action. But if as a routine you keep filing these things, then you will automatically know what's the status of pet trade in your city, or dairies in your city, or animal transportation in your city, if you keep asking these very pertinent questions. So that's one thing. Remind me, you had some questions now, Harshita. Go on.
Yeah, we have got some questions from our attendees. So the first one is, what are the feeders' rights and responsibilities?
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to start with the Constitution, but don't go around throwing the Constitution in police stations, because these are not provisions which are under which you can file an FIR, but you have to know it, that it is the fundamental duty of every citizen of India under Article 51 AG to be compassionate to animals. And you can display your compassion by feeding them. That's the basic thing that anybody can do. So when you're feeding animals, you're doing nothing wrong. There is no law in this country that can be made contrary to the constitutional provision. Understand that. Because every law has to be made only in accordance with the Constitution, and Constitution says you have to be compassionate as a duty of every citizen. Hence, no law in this country can prevent you from feeding animals. However, there are some things that you should keep in mind. One, do not feed animals in crowded places. Please take them away, or just lure them to a secluded sort of corner. ऐसा नहीं करना है कि बच्चे जहां खेल रहे होंगे वहीं पे खिलाएंगे and all that, because it only adds to the conflict. So behave like responsible people also. Feed them in a quiet place away from everybody, so that the dogs can also eat shanti se. If anybody is threatening you, if anybody is, trying to antagonize you or gets physical with you, you can always assert your right and call the police. But that, I think, should be the last resort. Try to work it out with people. I have found it working for myself all the time. Uh, I'll give you an example. I had about 6 dogs, and I was moving homes again and again, way back long time ago. And I moved into this house, and with 6 dogs and about 8 cats or something, my house was quite a circus. But but the problem was, the minute I'd leave, all the dogs would start howling, and more dogs would come from the street, and they would start howling, and they would howl like wolves. And the neighbors became really fed up. So once they all decided to come and ghirao me, so they all, came in about 20, 25 people. And suddenly, I could have actually called the police saying, "Oh, you're threatening me, you're intimidating me, I'm calling the police, and we're enemies for life." But what I did was, I suddenly just joined my hands and said, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." But what to do? These people, I mean, these dogs, poor things, they're all rescued, and they were dying on the road, and I had no option but to bring them home. And now see, this one has this story and this one has that story, and whatever. The minute you go on into that, then nobody can be angry at you, and then they suddenly understand, "Ha, bichari theek to kar rahi hai," So try that. It diffuses a lot of conflict. It has so much diffused conflict in my life. The minute you take a very defensive stand, that's when people get more aggressive. But in certain situations where there is physical threat, or if it is not getting diffused like this, you can go to the police, you can dial 100, you can get the police to come and assist you, and you can give a written FIR, just like I told you. Because किसी को threaten करना, किसी को गाली गलौज करना, all this is crime under the Indian Penal Code anyway. So you can always ask for police protection and call the police. In case you're still not getting help, you can always get in touch with us. That's the fun of networking. When you're in a larger group, when you become a part of a pet club and people for animals, and the whole universe of animal people, then you have people to fall back on, which is a good thing. So if you can't find any help, if you run out of options, you've tried your first option of Dukh Bhari Kahani, your second option of law enforcement agency, then your third option is fall back on your peers like us, and we'll help you out. But nobody can stop you from feeding. Nobody can prevent you from feeding birds or feeding dogs or feeding cows, anything. That's the basic thing that you can do as a compassionate person. Also, about feeding, I'll just tell you, in Delhi there is a high court order which is operating, which says that if there is a conflict in any particular area about feeding animals, feeding dogs specifically, then the Animal Welfare Board of India and the Resident Welfare Association and the police can come together and decide on a particular place and place a feeding board. So we've seen over the years that has also helped a lot in diffusing tensions, where सबकी सहमति से एक board लगा दिया जाए and the feeders only feed over there. It has to be reasonable. You can't expect dogs from 1 kilometer to come and get fed in one location. So it has to be a reasonable 200-300 meter radius, 200 meter max, for which one feeding board can be allocated. So if you are facing a huge problem in a certain gated colony or something, you can also request the AWBI to assist you with a feeding board in that area, because that then becomes a little institutionalized. Did that answer your question?
Is it possible the same thing for defecation of pets? It's really a very messy situation in this country, that
Yes,
people
yes,
just anywhere, and neighborhood, or पड़ोसियों के यहाँ करा के चले गए, and all these kind of things. So
yeah.
is there any law, first of all, or anything can be done as a club or as a domain.
I understand, sir. It's a huge concern for a country where a majority of people don't have access to toilets. We are a developing nation that has really, really bad solid waste disposal systems. So we are basically generally okay with dirty, filthy things. While there is no law on pet defecation, it is a good practice for people to carry those poop scoopers, which they should carry, but there is no law as such. Also, sir, you'd understand that in India, most of the pet dogs are basically community dogs, semi-owned types. Chai wale ka kutta, yeah, guard ka kutta. Hmm? So if we hold them responsible for a lot of things, they will just simply say, "Hamara kutta hai hi nahi," and they'll abandon it. So
ये
a
प्रॉब्लम
majority of
लोग रखते हैं उनके साथ ज्यादा है. These are elite people I am talking about.
yeah, so it's a desirable thing. It's a desirable thing that they should carry those poop scoopers, and but there is no law regarding it, because one day when all the humans in India get toilets, maybe then we'll make a law about dogs also. But for now, it is definitely a desirable thing, and maybe some outreach can be done regarding that also.
Yeah, that
But
is.
making it compulsory would be a little invasive. So there is already so much tension about pets. कुछ ना कुछ लोग बोलते रहते हैं, तो ये एक कानून बनाना तो ठीक नहीं होगा, बट डिजायरेबल है.
ये बिल्कुल आपकी बात ठीक है, बल्कि ये तो कम्युनिटी को, हमें नेबरहुड में अगर हम एक ऐसा क्लब बना लें कि भाई ये जगह है, आप इस यहीं पर डिफिकेशन कराएं.
That might be a little difficult, because dogs have sometimes they have to walk a certain, you can't tell a dog that, okay, this is your place and you do it. But a certain park or something can be allocated from where this thing can be picked up. It's definitely a desirable thing to do.
Thank you.
Okay. Bring your pussy.
So the next question is, what are the things that should be considered while rescuing and feeding animals?
So accordingly you can adjust. Okay.
Yeah. So when you're feeding animals, I just told you, we've covered that question. I think when you're rescuing an animal, uh, one thing that most people do is want to send it to a shelter. Kutta, billi, kuch bhi, you just want to call up somebody and get rid of the animal. Don't make that your first option, because shelters are overwhelmed with so many rescues all the time that it's not a great thing for people to just palm off, especially young animals or animals in very difficult, delicate situations. Try to, create some space in your home for one or two animals to recover, till you find them a better home or till you can rehabilitate them somewhere. Sending to a shelter should absolutely not be your first option. Hmm? Especially if it's an infant, because it requires personalized care. You can take help from a shelter. You can call up the shelter and say, okay, this is my latest rescue, can you help me with it? I can do a video call and show you. Can the doctor guide me as to kya karna hai or something, so you can get assistance from a shelter, but they'd be so happy that somebody has taken care of an animal for them, rather than palm it off or ask for the ambulance, because that really is uh, just adding to somebody else's burden. One or two animals, we all have large enough hearts to actually take in one or two animals, or to request our friends to take in one or two animals and make them recover from their illnesses, from their injuries in our own homes. We can also afford a veterinarian's fee very easily, while dumping animals on the shelter will only increase their expenses. Chota chota to hum bhi utha sakte hain. So why not try to do that as rescues, of course. And if you are otherwise rescuing an animal from a cruelty situation, please remember that you have to follow the case property animals rules. If it is an abused animal, if it has been rescued from a cruelty situation where you have filed an FIR, then you have to follow the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Case Property Animals Rules, 2017. It's again a 3-page set of rules. Basically says that you have to take it to a government vet, get the health certificate, medical, whatever made, and then apply for custody of that animal. Because once an FIR is lodged, the animal which is rescued becomes property of the court. While you can keep it and give it treatment, give it food, everything, you will have to appear before the magistrate and ask for the custody of the animal, and that's the procedure that's to be followed in case of a rescue from an FIR situation. Otherwise, if it's just a kitten that you found on the road, or a puppy or a dog or something, you don't need to do anything. You just need to contact a veterinarian. Do not start off with quackery, please. Do not start injecting anything to any animal on your own. Do it under a veterinarian supervision. Take advice from a veterinarian and then give it treatment as much as possible at home. If you can't handle it, reach out to a shelter where you are volunteering. You only have the moral authority to request a shelter. If you're volunteering there, give back something before you ask for it.
Hi, Gauri ma'am. Anushka this side.
Hi, Anushka, tell me.
Okay, ma'am. So Mrs. Gandhi has also joined the seminar.
Yes, we're all eager to hear Mrs. Gandhi. So I think I'll stop my lecture now.
And ma'am, I think the documents you sent me, I can send them across because they were very helpful for the students in the last seminar as well. Like they have been referring to that documents and they have proof and everything. So I think with your lecture, I think those are extremely helpful documents. That is something I can send across.
Yes, please do that. And I'll send you some more. I'll send you a list of all the sensitization and awareness films that you can actually do a screening of, yes. And that'll help you make a lot of members. So I'll at the end of this webinar, I'll send you all those films.
Yes, that would be great.
I'll send you an RTI format also. Please share it with everybody so that everybody has a pro forma format and they're not thinking ki aise hai to theek hai ki nahi hai, whatever.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, that would be helpful.
We'll now listen to Mrs. Gandhi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your enlightening words. You have been so inspiring to all of us. It really takes a lot of courage in what you do. You really motivate us, and we are very fortunate today to have you with us right now. Now we have another renowned guest with us, Srimati Menka Sanjay Gandhi ma'am, who is the former Union Minister of Women and Child Development, animal rights activist and environmentalist. She currently chairs the jury of International Energy Globe Foundation, which meets annually in Austria to award the best environmental innovations of the year. Srimati Gandhi started the organization People for Animals in 1992, and it is the largest organization of animal rights and welfare in India. It is observed so often that brave people for animals raiding teams seize over trucks that are taking cattle for illegal slaughtering. With courage in heart and passion in their souls, they try to rescue these cattle by any means possible. Most of these animals are also found sick or injured on the streets. They are then brought to the Sanjay Gandhi Animal Care Center, which is India's oldest and largest all-animal shelter. Srimati Menka Gandhi is also a patron of International Animal Rescue. We are so grateful to have her with us right now. Now, with due respect, I would request you, ma'am, to address the session.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm sure Gauri has already given you the list of what animal welfare groups should do. It is really important that every college in India have a recognized group for animal welfare. And the reason for that is that you have the space and the time to learn animal welfare in an organized fashion, to involve many more people in it, and as you grow then to become an active part of the animal welfare community. So this is a really important part of what every college should be. And the children who are listening today, I suggest that in your own colleges or in your friends' colleges, start an animal welfare group as well. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot because Gauri has already explained a lot of things to you. Shall we go straight into questions and answers? If that's what you want to learn, what do you want to do? See, I can tell you why animal welfare is important, but you already know that. And animal welfare is not about cuddling dogs, or it's not even dog centric. It is really about all animals. Let me give you one small example of an unpopular animal. For instance, wild boar. Now, a lot of people think that wild boar should be killed, and especially farmers ask for wild boar to be killed because वो खेतों में जा करके उनके कभी-कभी उनके सब्जियां खाते हैं. But of all the animals in the forest, the wild boar is the most important for two reasons. One is that the wild boar is the food for all the large cats, which you do like. You may not like the wild boar, but you do like leopards and panthers and other large cats. So, A, this is their main food. Two, there is a plant in every forest called bracken, which is huge, large leaves. Now, bracken grows indiscriminately in the forest and it prevents the sunlight from growing into the ground. Now, when the sunlight doesn't go into the ground, no seeds, no shoots will come up. There is only one animal that eats bracken, and that is the wild boar. So, if the wild boar is in the forest, it'll eat the bracken, it'll create sunlight on the ground, and your shoots will grow. So, if you take away the wild boar, you not only will have large cats entering the cities, as they do in Chandrapur, because 3 years ago, the minister ordered the killing of all the wild boar. So they killed 150 wild boar in 3 days until I got to know and stopped it. But after that, what happened? The tigers started coming out because they were hungry. And when they came out, 4 of them were killed in 1 day on the railway track. So when you lose the wild boar, you will lose everything up and downstream. You lose the forest and you lose the large cats. This is what we mean by animal welfare. Everything is important, every single animal. And therefore, it's important to learn about them. But if you would like to ask questions, it would be easier for me. I say even the mosquito, I wrote a long time ago that the mosquito is really important to us because he is the largest employer in the whole world. If we did not have the mosquito, at least 20 to 30 million people would lose their jobs. So all the people who fight malaria, all the doctors who look after malaria, all the nurses, all the equipment manufacturers for malaria, all the people who give lectures on malaria, all the people who go around inspecting our ponds, all the people who spray that horrible gas, which kills everybody except mosquitoes on the roads. So the mosquito is a very, very important part. But jokes apart, the mosquito is really important because the mosquitoes eat aphids. Aphids destroy plants. So mosquitoes are the main food for a lot of fish. So upstairs and downstairs, downstream and upstream, it is an important part of the universe. It's just that when we fiddle with things, we get things out of proportion. So too many mosquitoes, too many of one animal, too little of another. That's what is known as human intervention, which destroys the natural cycle of each animal. We have too many goats, cows, too many of these animals because they're grown for meat and milk. If you were to stop eating meat and milk, these animals would go downsize to their normal proportions. And they would leave space for the forest to grow. They would leave space for many other animals that are much, much more important to the universe. Right. That's enough for the beginning. Now you can just ask the questions.
Thank you, ma'am. What are your views about animal experimentation?
We don't need it. We never needed it. We don't need it now. If you actually look at animal experimentation, a dog or a mouse or a rabbit is not a human being. They have different bodies, they have different reactions. When penicillin was first invented, they tried it out on animals and it didn't work. So as a result, they threw it away. And it so happened that one scientist who was not, who didn't know that it had been thrown away, tried it out by accident on a human and found that it worked. Otherwise, the mainstream, science at that point, scientists were not going to use it on animals at all, on humans, because they said it failed in the animal test. If we actually look how many drugs fail on humans after being tried on animals, you would see that it would go up to about 70+%. So what is the point of it? If you blind a rabbit with the Dre's test, how will it help you? For instance, there's a particular test, I think it's called, I don't remember the name, it's called 50% mortality, where you keep feeding lipsticks to a monkey until he dies. And then you say, okay, so this is poisonous or not poisonous. But do people eat lipsticks? I mean, how many people eat 50 lipsticks or 30 lipsticks at a time, or even one? So what is the point of this stupid experiment? See, I'll explain it to you in a joke. There's this man who's testing on frogs. So he cuts off one leg and says, jump, and the frog jumps. He cuts off two and he says, jump, and the frog jumps. Cuts off three and says, jump, and the frog jumps. And he cuts off all four and says, jump, but the frog doesn't jump. So he writes in his experiment, if you cut off all four legs of a frog, it becomes deaf. That is what animal experimentation is. It has absolutely, well, I can't say of very little, it has absolutely no value as far as I'm concerned. But if you have to go through the animal route to see things, then there are so many alternatives at the moment which give you better results and more graded, more scientific results, that it's silly to go to animals. But it takes a long time to shift the medical community away. There used to be experimentation in biology in schools, which I stopped 30 years ago, and people still became doctors. In fact, more people didn't become doctors because they had to do experimentation on animals in schools, so they didn't take biology. People like me. We stopped it in pharmacy, we stopped it in undergraduates, we stopped it in dentistry, and people still went on and did extremely well. So you don't really need it. One by one, it should be stopped in all disciplines. Next.
There is a question: how to begin a career as an advocate in animal lives and welfare?
By studying it. You actually have to do it in law school and study it. It's a very good profession, and you'll get thousands of cases because we ourselves will give you hundreds of cases. As people become more churched, as people grow in number, and especially during this COVID time when people don't know what to do with themselves since they're locked up at home, and they become more and more bad-tempered, they take it out on animals, or they take it out on animal feeders. They take it out on people who are compassionate. And so you need to be able to combat that legally. And it's important to be available to, if you know the laws, to be available to other people so that you can teach them. I get on my email at the moment, I have 517 emails, all of which are complaining about cruelty. So therefore, if I had 10 people helping me, just giving the law to the RWAs that behave badly, to people who call municipalities when it's illegal, to people who beat up animals at random. Those are the people that should be dealt with legally, and it's important to have a lawyer to do that. Secondly, when we catch trucks taking animals for slaughter, when you look at slaughterhouses that are illegal, when you look at chicken shops that are illegal, the entire animal food industry, which is 90% illegal on the road, I would think that it would be important to be a lawyer, especially an animal welfare lawyer.
Hi, ma'am. Anushka.
Hi.
So from my personal experience, I just wanted to tell everyone that I studied my law, and after that, when I had my license, I joined Mrs. Gandhi. And honestly, even I did not have as much idea and guidance about laws of animal welfare as much Mrs. Gandhi helped me to learn. Like, there are so many things in animal welfare. It's just not limited to PCA Act. There are so many things about slaughterhouses, like Gauri ma'am's documents, everything. So this field is just not limited, and we do need animal advocates in animal welfare so that we can have better, at least if nothing, better implication of the already existing laws and rules.
You know, a lot of people don't understand that animal cruelty also is sometimes not designed to hurt the animal, but to hurt the person looking after the animal. And this is especially in the case of women who feed animals. You know, a man feeder will not be attacked, but a woman feeder will be ghettoed, will be abused, will be beaten. Even the smallest thing, which is taking her picture and putting it on the RWA WhatsApp and allowing people to comment, it's completely illegal, but they will do it to a woman. So therefore, you have to even look at women harassment laws and use them in case of animals. There are 50 other laws that need to be brought into play here: intimidation, harassment, um, food laws. A person who has a chicken shop and is throwing the blood of the chickens into the sewer, that's the water that you are going to drink ultimately through your tap. So you need to apply those laws. You need to know all the laws and the peripheral laws as well. Bolo. Next.
Is sterilization of female dogs totally safe, and how can we ask for our local authorities to initiate sterilization program?
Well, it's safe in the sense that if you have a good doctor, if you have a rubbish doctor, then nothing is safe. When I go to have my uterus removed, I expect the surgeon to be a good, responsible, clean, sterile doctor. If he's going to be some person who doesn't know anything and who just experiments, then obviously I'm going to be in trouble. So sometimes it's safe, and sometimes there are a lot of quacks around, a lot of people who are general practitioners and are not surgeons, who are passing themselves off as surgeons, but they're just normal first year vets. Those should be avoided like the plague. One of the mistakes that we make is that we do not check out the vets before we go to them. And we accept any form of irresponsibility. Now, Gauri has been working with the Veterinary Council of India to make what is known as standards for veterinary clinics. Until now, can you believe that there are no standards? So we have vets who are washing their clothes and cooking their food inside that one-room clinic. We have people who have clinics in the garage. We have vets who have clinics in which mele kapde pade hue hain. They use the same injection. There is one vet in Delhi who put feline leukopenia cats on the same table as other cats. So the other 4 also died when they went home. So you need to check out the vet. One of the things that we've asked the Veterinary Council to do is to make a list of the vets and put it on their website so that you know who is a vet and who isn't, because a lot of people call themselves a doctor and they're actually not even compounders. They're just peons or something. This morning, we had a case in Karnal where a man is selling Alexandrine parakeets, which are brought from the Himalayas when they're babies, and now is the season. And this huge big smuggler is getting them and selling them in Karnal. So the team got ready, and then at the last minute, they phoned the DFO. So a man called Balraj picked it up and said, no, I can't, I don't have time, I don't have this, I don't have that. So of course they got in touch with me. It turned out that this Balraj was passing himself off as the DFO, but he was the peon in the office. Same way, a lot of people who call themselves vets are simply not that. And be very careful with vets who come to your house during this time, because 90% of them are not. We've just caught one in Faridabad who was standing outside. He put his own card outside the veterinary hospital of Faridabad. And whenever people came with the animals, he would say, I'll help you at half price. So he would take them to his house, and he was doing surgery on females on the floor in the veranda of his house. And 90%, I mean, not 90%, 100% of them died, 90% on the spot. And then he would say, "Theek hai jao." And people just don't go to court. People don't go to consumer court. One of the things we need is a very strong animal welfare lawyers wing in consumer court. Because unless you start attacking these people through their money, They will not change. In Guwahati, we have just had a case where there was a man who ran something called the National Dog Training Center in a place called Garchuk. So people gave their dogs to him, and about 70 to 80% of the dogs died. Some died of parvo, some died, but most of them died of beating. He just beat them to death, calling it training. And somebody made a film of his. Now, the last person whose dog died came to us, and our PFA Guwahati lady, Indira, got in touch with the police. We've managed to shut them down. But I mean, we shut them down here, they'll open somewhere else in a few days. Then we'll shut them down there. Now, none of the complainants are prepared to go to court because they say they don't have a lawyer and the lawyer will charge a lot of money, etc., etc. They want to, I've told them, you go to consumer court and charge him 10 lakhs per dog. So, but if we had lawyers doing pro bono work in consumer courts for animals, a lot of this cruelty would just disappear. One of the important cases that was fought in Bombay was a man whose dog was not allowed to use the lift. And he was on the 6th or 7th floor. And he had diabetes. He was old. His dog was also old. So he went to consumer court. And consumer court said not only can he use the lift, but every dog can use the lift all over India. And if they don't, the RWA can be penalized 5,000 rupees a day. So after that, we used that judgment for everybody else. Now, if we got 20, 30 people who got judgments like this, it would help us a lot. Next.
How can we stop illegal trading of Indian tent turtles or any other animal?
No, not of any other animal. Indian tent turtles are now almost near extinction because of the pet shop. You need to stop the pet shops, full stop. The entire Indian tent turtle trade is happening through the pet shops. If we stop the market, the poaching will stop. You go into a normal fish aquarium and ask for a turtle, they'll give you a turtle. You go into any pet shop and book an order for 30 turtles, you will have them within 1 week. All right, we have been into slum colonies here in Delhi where there have been 200, 300, 400 turtles. And not just small ones, we're looking at this size ones. They came to my house, we rescued them, and I think 40 or 50 were brought to my house at one go. And they are all there for two reasons. One, people keep them because they think it helps with their feng shui, which is rubbish. No turtle is going to bring you good luck if you do bad things. Secondly, the Bengalis here in Delhi eat them from Kerala, and the Keralites drink them. So what they do is they put a turtle upside down, they slit the stomach, and you come and you put these little steel tumblers and they give them water, blood, and they drink them. Some people in Kerala who live here in Delhi. And the Bengalis though ask for one limb at a time. And then they take home that limb and they cook it. The trade to Bengal is the only trade that's going on, apart from this feng shui nonsense. But the way to stop it is stop all pet shops. Now, pet shops, as Gauri may have told you, have been illegal since 2018. But unless the children here, there are 141 children listening at this moment. If 141 of you start making teams and going to each pet shop and saying कि जानवर बेचना बंद कर दो, नहीं तो हम ये pet shop को बंद करवा देंगे. You yourselves will be able to close it down. In Delhi, we have 300 pet shops. I'm surprised that 141 of you can't close them down. We have over 1,000 breeders. You need to find out who the breeders are and report to the police immediately. It's because we don't have proactivism. It's only during COVID time now that people have become proactive. And it's really delightful to see that 90% of them are young people, people above the ages of 16. You need to now push that proactiveness, not just into feeding dogs and standing up to RWAs, but into moving into all the other areas as well. As I said, the pet shops and breeders, we could make Delhi pet shop free and breeder free within 3 months if just the people on this site today decided to do it.
So the next question is, can you share your own experience in regard to local chicken shops?
I know that my own experience is that I'm a member of parliament from Sultanpur and I've shut them all down. There's not a single chicken coca in the whole of Sultanpur. Why? Because I simply took the municipal act and I showed it to the district magistrate and said, we will not break the law while I am member of parliament. So within one day, the police were told and they shut them all down. Now, if they want to sell chickens, they will have to find a proper place which is under the law in an air-conditioned area with glass windows, with a water disposal. Only then can they sell them. And that can be done in Delhi. The problem is that everybody takes a hafta from these chicken people. Okay, the coca guy, the guy who has those cages and puts those chickens in those cages, he's paying a weekly hafta to the municipal inspector, to the policeman. He's giving away free chickens to the police, for instance, every time they have a party. So who will stop him? Only you will. If you went to court and said, all right, we want the cocas closed because the municipal law says that they're not supposed to be there. That's how I, in People for Animals, shut down Eidgah. There used to be a slaughterhouse here. And MC Mehta was my lawyer, and he actually won all sorts of international awards for shutting down Eidgah. But then what happened? Eidgah got shut down, and after a little while, Ghazipur started. And now Gauri is dealing with Ghazipur because Ghazipur is even worse. But it's because none of you are interested in following anything except dogs. So the animal welfare movement gets divided into dog people, wildlife people, scientists. It just sort of divides itself into different divisions, whereas it should be all one whole. Tell me, next.
Ma'am, I have a question. काफी टाइम से देश आजाद हो गया, सब यूनिवर्सिटीज काफी टाइम से हम लोग काफी सेक्टर में अचीवमेंट्स अचीव कर पा रहे हैं, लेकिन अभी भी यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पे एनिमल वेलफेयर सोसाइटीज क्यों नहीं है? और अगर जो
मैं कह रही हूँ अभी तक अगर नहीं है तो नहीं है, आज की बात तो हो, आप अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में आपने शुरू किया है. When we got this idea, when did we get this idea? In June or July during the COVID, I think, when I contacted Anushka. And it was told to me by a girl from Patiala who asked me what you are asking me today. A Patiala private college girl wrote to me and said, why can't we have this? और हमने अपने कॉलेज में शुरू किया. फिर हमने कहा कि चलो हम पूरे देश में शुरू करते हैं. और 6 महीने के अंदर अंदर कम से कम, और ज्यादा नहीं, तो 200, 300, 400 कॉलेजेस में तो हो ही गया है. और आपके कॉलेज में अगर हो गया है तो फिर आपकी वजह से 10 और कॉलेजेस में शुरू होगा. आप अपने भाई को लिखिए, वो अपने चाचे को लिखेगा, वो अपने बेटे को लिखेगा. This has to go viral.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to interconnect with each other. कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं, आप क्या कर रहे हैं. एक दफा साल में या आपको मिलना चाहिए all the animal welfare organizations from colleges in Delhi, all of them in Pune, all of them in Mumbai. You should make a federation. मगर शुरू तो करो. अगर एक साल में 300-400 बन सकते हैं तो कितने बनाने हैं हम लोगों ने? कितने बनाने? करीबन 1 लाख. 1 लाख बनाने हैं ना, तो 1 लाख बहुत दूर तो नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम तो पहले वाले का था
कि शुरू ही नहीं हो रहा था. पहले
शुरू ही नहीं हो रहा था 70 साल के लिए, और अचानक से 400 हो गए 6 महीने में, और वो भी ऐसे समय पर जहां कोई कॉलेज चल ही नहीं रहा है, फिर भी बना.
हमने पिछले 1 साल में 1 लाख टीचर्स को ट्रेन कर दिया by developing our own online portal, EDX portal, which is used by universities like Harvard and Stanford. And Ministry of Education is very update that how could we train 100,000 teachers and college and university teachers in a period of 1 year. And now our target is to reach to everyone in the country. And we reach not only northeast, but Jammu Kashmir and border areas of Jammu Kashmir, and teachers are very enthusiastic that during this COVID, when we were distressed, this thing happened. So you are right. I agree with you. It's only one initiative which can create wonders.
So
And
why
I'm
not? Why
really
don't we
thankful.
talk about
Yeah, I'm really. Yeah.
the same systems to
Yeah.
do animal welfare?
Yes.
Can we do that?
Yes.
I'm actually asking a question. I'm saying कि जब आपके पास वो system है
जी
जिसमें आप एक टीचर्स को ट्रेन कर सकते हैं,
जी
तो क्या हम आपके सिस्टम के जरिए 1 लाख टीचर्स को बोल सकते हैं कि अपने संस्थाओं में वो खोले एनिमल वेलफेयर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं. एकदम बड़ा आसान है. एकदम ये बच्चे लाए हम. We will flash it immediately and we will organize it. We will organize a program for awareness. And even we can use that platform of the Ministry of Education, which is Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission for Teachers and Teaching. We can use the same platform. There is no problem. It's a welfare activity.
Yeah.
We are keen.
So Harshita, please handle this.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'll get in touch with him.
I want to see it happen immediately.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
We'll do it.
Okay, you know that IGNOU has started the first animal welfare course in India, and I think 800 people applied for the first semester, and then I wrote about it in different papers, and now it's gone up to 2,000 people applying. So it's something that all of you should do in your spare time, because IGNOU is, you can do it ghar mein baith karke.
Bilkul.
And it's a very good course. I've seen the course papers.
Very good. Very good.
Good diploma.
Ji, ji. No, our students will take that initiative, and we will look that also. We might start a kind of a certificate course also, because our portal is competent to do that. So we are open to various ideas, and I'm glad that you joined us this afternoon, and you thought about it, and we are really honored that you are with us, because we have heard a lot about you in our young age, and still you are doing so much activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I think you should also tell these students how you shut down all the illegal chicken shops and these corner shops in Sultanpur, because they are actually illegal and not functioning on, government rules or any legality grounds.
I just explained, beta, that under the municipal law, and Gauri can correct me because she knows more about it, under the municipal law, you are not allowed to have slaughter shops or open sale and slaughter of any animal. You can't kill them one in front of the other. You can't do it unless if it attracts flies. You can't do it in a way that the blood goes onto the road or into sewers. It's actually all illegal and spelled out in the municipal law. So all you have to do is, in Delhi, it will be more difficult. But in a place like Sultanpur, where I am MP, right? Where I'm the MP, it's easier. So you simply then have to talk and show the law to the district administration. Now here, if you do it in Delhi and somebody goes to court, I'm saying go to consumer court, start at the consumer court level and say that this is illegal, this is causing so much disease, use COVID also liberally, that during the COVID time, we should not be exposed to other disease. Every chicken, for instance, has got tuberculosis. Did you know that? Chickens have got diabetes and they spread diabetes. They just recently found this out 2 years ago because they did a test for the breastbone. Why is it so chewy? So when they tested out why the breastbone was so chewy, they found out it's because all the chickens had diabetes. So there is a lot of disease that chickens spread. And therefore, it is possible to go to court in a class action. We've never tried a class action suit, which means 500 people or institutions get involved and ask for it. And say that we want the chicken khokhas shut down. You can have a chicken market in which you make it under the law, air conditioned, clean, disposal wise sterile. They'll never be able to do it. But you should move for the chicken, to close down chicken cokas, because they do spread a lot of disease. It's not just chicken cokas, the fish that are being sold on the road. Every one of those fish have been dipped in formalin. Formalin is what you preserve dead bodies in. And all the fish have it, all. And when you eat that fish, you can't take it by washing, boiling, nothing will affect the formalin. You're eating formalin. And if you think that it preserves your body from outside when you're dead, you can imagine what it does to your stomach. So the fish should also not be sold like this. You cannot have the killing of goats. 2 goats tied up outside one small shop and then killed. But it depends on how far you as a team of people listening to this can push it. See, what happens is you're listening to me right now and you're very enthusiastic and very gung-ho. Yes, we'll do this and yes, we'll do that. And 3 days later, you will have forgotten all about it. You'll have your next guest on your chat show and you'll be very gung-ho about that. So if you're truly interested in animal welfare, this is where you should begin. Any more questions?
Yes, ma'am, there is. What is the alternative for resources obtained from animals? Should reducing and banning the consumption of resources is a good option?
What do you mean by resources, beta? What can an animal give you that you can't get yourself? If you want leather you should not be using in a hot country. There are more animals killed for leather in India than there are for meat. That use of resources, of creation of leather resource, has actually destroyed the more important resource, which is water. All your leather industries are throwing their chemicals into the Ganges. The Ganges stops being a river in Kanpur and just becomes dead water, poisonous water from then onwards. Every river is used as a resource to throw leather chemicals into. All right? The people working in the leather industry are full of cancer, much higher than any other percentage of people getting cancer. And they are all poor people. So what are you talking about? A resource is something that gives you something. Leather only takes it away. And you don't even need it. It's a useless thing. I mean, you talk about milk. If that's a resource, it doesn't give you anything except cancer, except acne. No Indian can even digest it because you do not have lactase in your body. No Indian has lactase. So if you can't digest it, then it's no longer a resource. It's just a waste of money. What resource can meat give you that plants can't? Everything that meat has, plants have 20 more times of, and without the diseases that come with meat. So what resources are you talking about?
I was just talking about that only, that leather, and I have heard some teeth of elephants are being sold and material like that.
So you think the teeth of elephants is really important as a resource?
I really don't think so.
मैम मुझे कुछ पूछना था.
बोले.
हेलो मैम, मुझे कुछ पूछना था.
जी बोलिए.
मैम मैं यहाँ पुणे से हूँ, महाराष्ट्र से, पुणे से. स्ट्रे डॉग को फीड कराती हूँ एवरीवन 20 to 22. तो यहाँ पर बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे हैं जो प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करते हैं मैम, यहाँ तक कि मेरे बेटे को मारने तक आते हैं. लोकल एनजीओज बहुत हैं यहाँ पर, लेकिन उस समय जब ऑन द स्पॉट कुछ होता है तो यहाँ पर हमें सपोर्ट नहीं मिल पाता है मैम. उसके कारण ये बेचारे बहुत सफर करते हैं मैम, और मतलब कंटिन्यू उसको पर्सनली ले जाते हैं. और जैसे पुलिस कंप्लेन करने का भी सोचे तो कोई आता भी नहीं है, कोई उस समय सपोर्ट नहीं करता और ना साथ देता है. तो उसके लिए क्या कर सकते हैं मैम?
देखिए, हमारे पास एक पीएफए पुणे है. अब जब भी उनको बुलाएंगे वो आपकी मदद करेंगे. मैं आपको अभी उनका नंबर दे देती हूँ, लिखिए उनका नंबर.
जी जी.
800
जी
788
जी
9647।
964। थैंक यू,
ये है
थैंक यू।
ये है विनीता। हमारी जो पीएफ की अध्यक्षा है वो है पुनीता खन्ना, एंड शी इज एक्सट्रीमली कॉम्पिटेंट।
जी जी जी
पुनीता का नंबर मैं दे देती हूँ,
जी
82
जी
853
जी
69
जी
674।
ओके, थैंक यू मैम।
कोई आपको अटैक करे, दो चीजें, अगर कोई आपको अटैक करे तो आप फौरन ही इनको बताइए या पुलिस को बुलाइए।
मैंने वीडियो भी बनाया है मैम, मैंने वीडियो, लेकिन एक्चुअल में मैं इंग्लिश में नहीं लिख पाती हूँ, तो क्या उनको हिंदी में लिख सकती हूँ? मैं वीडियो भेज सकती हूँ उनको, मैं भेज देती हूँ वीडियो वगैरह। वो व्यक्ति कंटिन्यूअसली हम लोगों को परेशान कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर, हम पुलिस बुला देंगे, हम ये कर देंगे, बहुत ज्यादा।
हम बात कर लें आपसे?
जी
शुक्रिया। हमको ऐसे इस किस्म के कम से कम दिन में 20-30 तो मुझे मिलते हैं शिकायतें, और ज्यादातर बॉम्बे और पुणे से। तो आप इनको फोन करिए या पुलिस को बुलाइए और मेरी बात करवा दीजिए पुलिस के साथ जब वो आते हैं। अक्सर हम यही बात करते हैं। दूसरा, आप क्योंकि आप पुणे से हैं और अगर कोई और सुन रहा है पुणे से, अगर पुलिस आपको रोकती है कोविड के समय में खिलाने से या गुड्स ले जाने में या अपने कुत्ते को या कोई कुत्ते को डॉक्टर के पास ले जाने के लिए, आप इन दोनों को फोन करें, क्योंकि उन्होंने डीसीपी क्राइम, मेरे ख्याल से उनका नाम है मिस्टर श्रीनिवास, उनसे बात कर ली है और वो आपको फौरन मदद करेंगे। आप मिस्टर श्रीनिवास का नंबर अपने साथ रख लीजिए, मैं आपको नंबर नहीं बताऊंगी, आप पता कर लीजिए और अपने पास रख लें। और एक कंप्लेंट फाइल करिए जो लोग आपको तंग कर रहे हैं, अंडर हैरेसमेंट, इंटिमिडेशन, अंडर 429, अंडर क्रूअल्टी टू एनिमल्स, ये सब आप फाइल करिए स्टेशन में। ओके, नेक्स्ट।
We'll take 2 or 3 more questions.
Just take one, we're done then.
Yeah. And how do you look towards vaccine trials on monkeys and other animals?
It's the same thing. You've asked me this question before as well. I've answered this.
That was a bit different, but someone has asked this specifically.
It's the same thing. What do I look for in animal experimentation? Vaccine trials are the same. What affects a monkey, for instance, may not affect a human being.
So another question is, can a non-vegetarian become an animal activist?
Anybody can become an animal activist. But I'll tell you, you can't save one animal and eat another. That makes no sense to me at all. A pig, for instance, is much, much more intelligent and much more loving and much more happy to be a pet than a dog. तो आप कुत्ते को रखें और सुअर को खाएं. This makes no sense to me at all. A goat, again, is intelligent, has a memory, has an attitude, has a personality. Chickens have a whole language of their own. In fact, there's been a book written by a man who grew up with chickens in his barn. And he's written a book on chicken language. Or usme, they flirt with each other, they get second wives, they fight with their wives, they cheat, they tell lies. They have proper languages saying कि ओहो वो मुसीबत आ रहा है, भागो यहाँ से, और ये उसके पास मत जाना, वो फेंकता है. They abuse. So how can you eat a chicken when it's exactly the same as you? So to say that I'm a non-veg and yet I'm an animal activist, that's up to you. But you can just let's suppose I were a meat eater. Would I have the same strength and the same moral conviction to take on the movement? Not at all. What I'm looking for is moral integrity. जब आप नहीं खाएंगे तो किसी चीज को नहीं खाएंगे. जब आप प्यार करेंगे तो सबसे प्यार करेंगे. You will find animal welfare people all over the world are people who come first when cyclone help, when they want to help women. Because जब दिल खुलता है तो सबके लिए खुलता है. Do you know that it was the animal welfare people in England who got the vote for women? So to say that, okay, I'll eat some animals and then I'll love some others, doesn't make sense to me at all. But you can try.
Okay, so this is the last question, I guess. How can students contribute in attaining better animal laws?
You can start by filing RTIs. You can start by going to court, learning laws, going properly, but take good advice, because a bad case will get a bad judgment, which will affect all of us. So start. Third, make a group within your own, where you live, where you work. You know what? Let's give you an example. 5 years ago, there was no vegan movement anywhere in the world. Now suddenly, all the shops have got vegan goods. Even McDonald's has got vegan food. The supermarkets abroad have got whole vegan sections. How did this happen? Because a few young people in colleges just decided कि हम vegan भी होंगे और हम दुनिया को भी vegan कर देंगे. And suddenly it went from 0.1% to something which is now 12 to 16%. Do you know that they've invented a new word? Because now it's so embarrassing to say that I'm eating meat. So for meat eaters, they have a new word called flexitarian. And that is, if you go out in public and somebody says, "Aap maas khate hain kya? Do you eat meat?" No, I'm a flexitarian. Flexitarian means, yes, I eat meat, but I'm trying to cut it down. जैसे लोग सिगरेट के लिए बोलते हैं कि बस हम छोड़ने की बस मोड़ पर हैं. So how did it become embarrassing to become a meat eater, to be a meat eater? Because young people decided that suddenly it was no longer fashionable. And it was no longer good for the earth. It was no longer fashionable to cause crime. It's literally a criminal thing to do, because you eat up the forest, you eat up the air, you eat up the ground, you eat up animals, you cause pain. And in return for that, what do you get? You get disease. You get, you don't get any food in a dead body. You're not even supposed to be one. If you actually go through the way your body is constructed, you are vegetarian. So if you keep putting, you just like you can't run a car on lollipops. If you keep putting food that you're not meant to put into your system, you create disease. And that's what we have done to ourselves. And that is why young people all over the world suddenly decided that it wasn't good enough. So many of them became vegetarian, many more became vegan. The same way, you can change people towards animal welfare by deciding today that yes, there are 140 of us on this site. All 140 are going to turn 10 people into animal welfare people. That's 1,400 in 1 week. And they then decide, and then we're on a roll. After all, at the beginning of COVID, there were how many people that I knew in India after 40 years of working in this field? I knew there were about 200, 300. And suddenly, after COVID began, I suddenly realized that there were about 50, 60,000 people. Why? Because they were all approaching me for help, just like this lady from Pune, who said, I feed animals and I'm being picked on. And now we'll stop her. We'll stop the people picking on her. And those people will turn. Aap samajh gaye? So suddenly you're an army, and you became an army in the last 1 year. So now let's see how strongly you can push it ahead. Would you have thought of an animal welfare Zoom meeting 2 years ago? Certainly not. And yet I get 2 to 3 requests a day. So we're on a roll. It now depends on how fast you push that roll. Good luck.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You have been so inspiring to all of us. So
Thank you.
now I would like to invite Mr. Abhishek Joshi to recite a poetry on Animal Lives Matter.
Is it going on?
Harshita, Abhishek is on mute. Please ask him to unmute himself.
I think you can speak now.
Am I audible?
Yes, Abhishek, you are on.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So thank you, ma'am, for the words. Seriously, I learned many things from that. And thank you, the Pet Club Ramanujan College, for giving us an opportunity. अक्सर हम ह्यूमन सेंटर्ड वर्ल्ड में रहते हैं और वहाँ पर हम चीज़ों को ह्यूमन लिखते हैं या कुछ भी चीज़ें क्रिएट करते हैं तो वो ह्यूमन के बेसिस पे करते हैं। तो इसलिए एक ऐसा इनिशिएटिव लेना कि एनिमल्स के लिए कुछ लिखा जाए, उनके लिए लिखा जाए जो अपने लिए कुछ नहीं बोल सकते, बहुत ज़रूरी था। इसलिए एक कुछ पंक्तियाँ लिखी थी मैंने जब टॉपिक पता चला। तो द टॉपिक ऑफ माई पोएम इज इंसानियत के मीनारे। तो आई विल स्टार्ट। कुछ बहते से निकलते हैं, कुछ चलते हैं, कुछ किनारे बनते हैं। कुछ बहते से निकलते हैं, कुछ चलते हैं, कुछ किनारे बनते हैं। जब तन से निकलती है जिंदगी पल भर में, क्या तब सिर्फ इंसान ही मरते हैं? या कुछ बेजुबां भी होते हैं, या कुछ बेजुबां भी होते हैं कहानी अपनी सुनाने को। लगा मुझे इंसान कहाँ, असल में ये बेजुबां ही इंसानियत के मीनारे बनते हैं। पर नाम इंसानियत ही क्यों? पर नाम इंसानियत ही क्यों? खाली हमारा मकान थोड़ी है, शब्द सबके मिलाकर बनी है ये दुनिया, खाली हमारी जुबान थोड़ी है। किसी की रोटी पकी प्रयोगशाला में, एज रिसेंटली मैम मेंशन दैट एनिमल एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन इज देयर, तो किसी की रोटी पकी प्रयोगशाला में, लेबोरेटरीज, किसी की रोटी पकी प्रयोगशाला में किसी की जिंदगी उजाड़ कर, पर किसी के रोते परिवार की चिंता क्यों हमें? घर इंसान का थोड़ी है। इंसान है हम, शब्द समझते हैं, चीखों को थोड़ी कानों में जाने देते हैं। पूजे जाने वाले साधन देवताओं की मूर्ति हैं बस, असल में देवताओं को हम घर में थोड़ी आने देते हैं। और पूछे भी क्यों, पूछे भी क्यों, हम ओहदा थोड़ा ऊंचा रखते हैं। ये तो बेजुबां है, फिर भी हम जुबां वालों को ही घर में कहाँ खाने देते हैं। इतना कहकर मैं निकल पड़ा इंसानों की सड़क पर जानवरों की खोज में। कुछ खून दिखा, कुछ भीड़ दिखी, कुछ लोग दिखे थे मौज में। एक बच्चा दिखा था गोद में जिसे खूब अच्छे से निहारा गया। फिर बात सुनी, बच्चा हमारा बच गया, बस बचाने वाला तो जानवर था जो मारा गया। फिर भुलाकर कि इंसानों के अलावा फिर भुलाकर कि इंसानों के अलावा भी कुछ लोग राहों पर चलते हैं। फिर लगा मुझे इंसान कहाँ, असल में ये बेजुबां ही इंसानियत के मीनारे बनते हैं। ये बेजुबां ही इंसानियत के मीनारे बनते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you so much, Abhishek, for these beautiful lines.
Hello,
And
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Ashita, I see on the chat on the side that there is a chat going on about eggs. Okay. Now, I want to tell you this because there's somebody here who says that no, fertilized eggs are non-veg and non-fertilized eggs are vegetarian. मैं आपसे पूछती हूँ कि मान लो कि आपका बच्चा पैदा होता है और वो बच्चा पैदा होता है मरा हुआ, भगवान ना करे, क्या वो इंसान नहीं था? तो I don't understand what is a fertilized, what is a non-fertilized egg? An egg, does it come from a Bengal? It's the child of a chicken. So how can you have an unfertilized or a fertilized egg? All of them are non-vegetarian. This is like the same nonsense that people say is meat is non-vegetarian, but milk is vegetarian. So a vegetarian will drink milk, but it comes from the same cow. Milk is simply made of white blood cells. Meat is made of red blood cells. Full stop. So how can you possibly have vegetarian and non-vegetarian milk or vegetarian, non-vegetarian eggs? For God's sake, don't spread rubbish. Eggs are non-vegetarian because they come from a chick. Okay? That's what the thought I want to leave you with. Bye-bye.
thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, Abhishek, for these beautiful lines. And now the most awaited moment of this session has come, the declaration of the results of the online competition, which was held on 26th of April. I would invite Dr. Tenzin ma'am, our convener, and request her to announce the names of the winners.
Thank you so much, Harshita. So I think they're like on the screen right now, all the winners that uh, got chosen for their amazing participation done in the last 1 week for speech, poetry. For speech, we have the first position has been bagged by Arjun Saxena, Harsh Pandey second, and third Prapti Jha. Many congratulations to all the winners for the speech segment. And then for the poetry, we have Abhishek Joshi bragging first position, and Harsh Pandey and Ritika Tyage. Congratulations for the beautiful compilation for the poetry segment. And I think we also have we also had a drawing competition. Yeah, so the third position is been taken by Miss Khyati Gupta. It's a beautiful picture, a beautiful expression. Thank you so much, Khyati. And then we have second position, uh, Bipasha Ghosh. Again, an amazing uh, story being expressed here through drawing, through colors. Thank you so much and congratulations, Bipasha. Then the first position is taken by Mr. Dhaval Anand, uh, who has again, very well uh, kept everything together in his drawing. How can we love one, then eat other? Very well said and very well portrayed here. Thank you so much, Dhaval Anand, and all the participants who were a part of this campaign. Thank you so much for participating and being, you know, a vehicle for the awareness and sensitizing people. And congratulations, everyone. Yeah. And is Gauri ma'am still here? Okay. So I wanted to thank Gauri ma'am also for taking out, time from a busy schedule, and of course, Mrs. Gandhi, for enlightening us and being there for answering all the questions by the participants. And I know we couldn't take up all the questions from the participants, like there were, I think, hundreds of them, and but we'll have more such sessions where we can take up the other questions as well. And I would like to thank everyone on board. First of all, I wanted to thank, I think Principal Sir is not here right now, but the first thank you to Principal Sir, who's been there, who, to give us the opportunity, first of all, to have this society in the college. I think that was one of the stepping, stone for us to be able to have that platform from the college itself. So Principal Sir, Dr. Professor S.P. Agarwal, thank you so much. And then, of course, our dignitaries, our guests, and the volunteers. I would like to thank all the volunteers. I think I have the names with me. Tejaswini, Shivam, Harshita, Vinay, Aditya, Samiksha, Mehul, Sanskar, Piyush, Rachna, Kajal, and yes, all the speakers who were there in the previous events also. Miss Twinkle Khan ma'am, who is an animal rescuer and an advocate, who's been there, guiding the students throughout, and Miss Diana as well, who's also an animal rescuer. I think Anushka Chaudhary is also been in constant touch with all of you, and she's also going to guide you in future. I was also a part of PFA. So, and Dr. Naginder Pal sir, the faculty of Ramanujan College, who's been again very supportive, in guiding us and telling us what to do and what not to do. All the DUSU members who all were there in yesterday's meetup. Thank you so much for coming together and being the support system for this kind of initiative for Animal Welfare Society. I really appreciate that you came up to help our society and be a part of it. And last but not the least, I would like to thank the IT department and especially Ravi sir, because without them, I think this meeting wouldn't have been possible. We wouldn't have got this platform where hundreds of people could come together and share our common uh, idea and the feeling that we have for the animal welfare, right? And a special thank you to Chandar. I don't know if he's here or not, right? So for pulling this together and for just bringing this together with the help of all the other volunteers also. And I think almost everyone is leaving now. It's 80 participants left. So I would just thank everyone. I'm like, I want to just give away my gratitude to all the attendees, all the participants who, took out time from their busy schedule and attended this webinar. Thank you so much, and looking forward to many more such participation from you all and more association in future. Thank you, everyone, and please take care of yourself. Be safe and healthy. Thank you, everyone.
Just a small announcement. I guess there is some confusion. The third position for poetry was given to Prajapati Jha and not Prapti Jha. So yeah, thank you to all the attendees for joining us and making this a huge success. You can call.